this meeting. Thank you. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we get to synchronize. That one's tough.
Did you want to be heard?
Sure.
Well,
You want to hear me?
yes. Now's your opportunity.
You didn't stand. You didn't have a room full of Democrats who were impressed? Down at the state of the county address, where they did Mr. Hines' thing.
Yes, yes.
Democrats who sat in front of me
Yes,
in the next row with your honorable Jerry Wang.
yes.
Would you all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? He was the first one to stand up.
There you go.
You know, but then you come to town and you don't. You're not get it, do you, Jeff? Okay, I am here, I'll take a little bit more than 2 minutes, but okay. I am here on behalf of the American Legion in Woodstock.
Time's up.
Yeah, I wish it was. They had a meeting, they're upset about some things, they're gonna put it in the paper, they were gonna do this, that, or the other thing. I said, no, I will go to the town board and let them know. I'm not gonna read about it, we're gonna go directly to them. All right, just very, very briefly.
Let's be clear, Terry, you're gonna read about it anyway.
Yeah, fine. This is consensus of the executive committee, and better that I come here and say it than maybe some others. American Legion, it's a fraternal organization we have here in town. It's been around since the late 40s, okay? It's we have two subsidiaries. We have the Sons of the Legion, the auxiliary, and we have a post over on Hillcrest Avenue. I'd like to think we've really turned the corner from some years ago and think of us as quite a benevolent association. One of the things is we're not just a bar up there on the hill. We do have committees and functions and things that we are becoming quite proud of. And when I say benevolent, we give to the Eagle Scout program $1,000. We give Special Olympic, Boy States, Meals on Wheels, the Loan Closet locally, Woodstock Christmas Eve program, Woodstock Fire Company, fireworks, sponsor a child at the rec field. Used to give to the Wounded Warriors, we don't anymore, and you can ask me about that later. Albany VA Hospital, to special programs and especially their Christmas situation. Sponsor 2 Little League teams, both from Woodstock and West Hurley. We do a scholarship at Onionville Central School for $500. We have a $8,000, we hold it, but it's county-wide, emergency fund for needy vets. We have our honor guard, which through, like the postman, either wind or rain or snow, go out and do the honor guard for the funeral for the vets in Woodstock. The Sons of the Legion also, they do an Adopt a Highway program up along 212 for a couple miles. Been doing it for years, a great job. They also do Woodstock Adopt a Child for the rec and Toys for Tots. We have the auxiliary who do various and sundry things. They, wherever there's a need, poppy sales and their fundraisers and their raffles, and Lynn could do better unless she's there. Okay? That's some of the things that we do. We're not the old 1950s, the drunk on the hill. We're involved in community activities. It's getting better and we do more. Having said that, we have also done the Memorial Day Parade for over a half a century. Sounds better than just 50 years. It sounds long. A half a century. We know pretty much what has happened over the past few years. I am here voicing to you the opinion of the American Legion. Okay? We have never, ever asked for or solicited any money from the town of Woodstock. Ever. And this goes back to probably in the early 50s when they started, with the parade and doing everything. As a matter of fact, the city supervisor, at one point we met, we used to come up, they'd have the money, we'd sign it, and to share in the expenses of the Memorial Day program what we did. In fact, one time, Jeremy said, it's not enough. We should raise it. You guys deserve more for what you do. Am I correct?
I remember raising it.
Huh?
I remember raising it.
You did raise it, okay? We did not ask for it, we did not solicit it. The finances were used to share in the expenses of Memorial Day, and the first meeting in June, we always pick our person for our scholarship at Amiora, and any extra money that we have would go towards that scholarship, okay? I don't know exact number of years, maybe Jay would know, but one time it popped up one year. Jay was somewhat upset, I think, about the amount of money that Jay is a member of the Veterans for Peace, and it's no secret to anybody that there was some friction. They didn't like the way we did the memorial ceremony. They did their own. We believed we have one mission for Memorial Day, all right, and that's a commemoration ceremony for our deceased veterans, our departed comrades. That's our mission, okay? We don't believe in bringing politics into it. There was a difference of opinion, and there's 364 other days that we can do that. We look at it as a little bit more sacred, okay? So, I don't know, again, just how long ago it was. Jay wanted to know what we were spending the money on. What is the Legion doing with that money? How is it broken down? Okay, the first time that came up, it raised the hair on the necks of a lot of people in the Legion because it was an insinuation, and they were insulted by that. I've spoken to you about it, Jay, and they were not happy. We don't need the amount of money that we share from the town, you know, and we don't need to beat the town at anything. I gave an entire breakdown on what was spent, and it came over the amount that you were giving. So supposedly that put it to bed. Over the years, now I've been in the Legion for 44 years, okay, and we received this financing. It's not financing. We figure the share in the expenses from the town. So the sign their name. I know years ago the line item was Memorial Day. And that was it. Okay? Not long after that, I went up one time and it was time to get the money and I was told, where are your receipts? What receipts? What do you want with the receipts? I don't know. We've never, ever, in over 50 years, have we ever been asked for a receipt. Again, the insinuation. The insinuation. And it aggravated some of the Legion members, a lot of the Legion members. So I dug around and had to go back, get all the receipts, so on and so forth. Okay? I think it was then last year, the town board had a resolution that we will reimburse the Legion for the flags and the flag holders that they buy. That's our participation. All right? And it's not so much. It's not so much.
There was an addition to that.
Go ahead. With balance between that and the 2,000 to be donated in the name of the Legion to the VA hospital and that other place in Elmville that never
Samaritan.
responded, Samaritan.
Yeah,
Okay?
they did actually.
Hmm?
They did
What?
respond, the Samaritans.
They did?
Yes.
So, I had spoken to Jeremy about that, said if that's the way it is, okay, fine, I go back. It's been a sore spot in the Legion ever since. Again, they feel insulted. It's not so much of what happened, it's probably the way it happened. And old wounds don't heal that easily. They think the way they feel is that they've been, the insinuations was an attack on our integrity. We're a very benevolent association, as I told you before. We've done our thing. We've never asked for anything. It has worked for someone, and it's like we're not going to go under over this. But the way it's all come down over the past years, and you know it, Jay, you and I have spoken about it. We don't agree on a lot of things, but at least we can speak. We were not happy about the way you did it. Okay? So here's the final thing on this. Our mission is a commemorative ceremony at the memorial in Woodstock Cemetery. We are no longer involved in the parade, and there will be no picnic at the Legion afterwards. Okay, so if you want to have a parade on Memorial Day, the consensus of the Legion is have one, but we're not going to do it. There will be no town picnic afterwards, and there'll be no honor or band unless somebody else comes up with $500 to pay. Okay? It's unfortunate it has to come to that. When you have a mixed town board, you have a situation in Woodstock, and you have a mixed group like you have in the American Legion. Everybody is going to take things differently. But I got to tell you right now, through these insinuations, their feelings were hurt. And as I said, it's better that I come up here and talk to you about it than some others. And there's, I don't know if it's irreparable harm, but there has been, there's been a wound open there, and they said, fine, we will do, they will do, the American Legion, I'm part of it, we will do our commemoration ceremony like we always do. And that's it. Okay? Any questions? I'm here to be, have you shot at me? I don't
No, I'm not going to take a shot at you.
No.
But I am going to ask you, since I feel very responsible for some of this, to...
Personally, I don't hold you responsible.
Well, no, but listen, this is the hot seat, so I'm accepting. But I would like to, before you make this decision irrevocable, at least have an opportunity to come to your Legion and have a conversation with you.
I would ask the same thing, Terry. I mean, this is news to us. I had no idea that there were hard feelings. I'm glad you came. I wish you'd come a year ago, or whenever this started, because it shouldn't have gotten to this level. And I won't speak for the rest of the board, but I mean, I never once in my mind was there any thought that, oh gee, we have to watch every penny these guys spend. We are under the gun a little bit with Albany coming down and wanting receipts for every little thing. You know, Mike's got a call for 3 bids now every time he wants to buy a nut. So it is a little ridiculous. But probably nobody on this board ever thought.
You all voted for the resolution.
Well, but again, I thought that was all something that was worked out.
Well, we were hoping, you and I had talked, you know that it would rankle some tempers. You know, it's just one more thing in many different types of people dealing with each other, and they're pretty adamant.
Just to go back from it, we
Sure.
did all vote for that, but we all, I shouldn't say we. I was under the assumption, I was under the belief that this is something that had been talked about and negotiated, and this was an agreement that was reached. Right.
It wasn't well received.
Okay, on
And
what we weren't aware, I wasn't aware.
No, well,
Well, listen, Terry, can I
cooler
say
minds
this?
often prevail, but things like this will fester. Again,
Right,
you've got some very proud
yes. But listen,
vets that
Terry,
have been, you know.
I really do want to come speak with them. They can be as angry at me as they want. I'm not asking anybody to be polite or to throw tomatoes at me. But I think that you would agree that when I attend that, which I agree is a very sacred ceremony, I think you know that I bring my whole heart to it.
Absolutely.
So I will bring my whole heart to this meeting. And I'll be quite honest with you, my object will be to try to save our parade and to save this community participation in what I think is a very sacred event. So if you would arrange that, I would, and ASAP. I mean, I will put
Yeah.
anything aside to come and be part
are
of this.
you, Jeremy, are you planning to do this on your own or with board members?
No, I'd like to go speak with them myself first, because I feel as, you know.
Because, well, I'd like, speaking for myself,
Mhm.
I will not look to avoid catching anything that comes my way. I will be a full participant in whatever goes on. As you stated, we have some differences of opinion.
Yeah, as you know, Jay, I'm not pot shooting you. You and I have talked about this at length, and you know where it came. And this has been, a back and forth over the years. I can't always control, not my people, but this one side. You can't always control that. We've had our differences. We've been able to communicate. And, and I've been very upfront and honest, and sometimes frank, but everybody's allowed their own way of thinking. But again, the Legion did, through what started with what you asked that time, okay? They felt challenged. And they're like, something that's been going on forever. And all of a sudden, and again, it's not so much about the money. We never asked for it. That's the thing. We've never asked, we've never solicited. This was, as you did that time, this is for a community thing, And when we talked about these things, I always made mention that we received funds from the town to share in the expenses of Memorial Day. And it's no inexpensive thing to do. Our old tables and chairs are done. We just can't even put them out anymore. So now, the past 2 years, we've rented tables and chairs, an additional expense. Last year, we had to put off, we don't have, we have revolving back, but what we have in our building fund, you just can't just go and grab it. So last year, we literally had to put off the scholarship money. Because when you're depending on X amount of dollars and this and that, we absorb it, we had to put off the scholarship money, which I refuse to do so, But it's not that we're probably, we're solvent. We're not going under or anything like that. But as you do, we have, ways we have to do things also. We just can't go out and willy-nilly throw money around. So again, I guess it's not so much about the money. It's just about the insinuations that came through from the beginning, as I told you, from the beginning, and then the step-by-step. Last year, Jeremy and I spoke. We came up with the reimbursing for the flags, and the remainder would be donated in our region's name. For some reason, that didn't sit well. I can't explain to you the inner feelings of a lot. Some of these vets are very proud, and the integrity in their minds has been somewhat challenged, okay? And this is exactly why I'm not going to write a letter to the town. I'm going to come to you and say, this is what's going on.
Well, Terry,
And we're upset.
I hope you will go back and tell them that we were, at least I was not aware of this. Again, you guys had what I thought was an agreement. I thought we were moving ahead and everything was fine. Wasn't aware that there was an issue here. So I really hope that you can convey to them that, we should at least sit down and have a conversation. Because I have nothing but great respect for your members and your organization. And we shouldn't be in this state.
No.
And again, I want to repeat that I will not shirk responsibility to anybody, any group, anywhere, anytime. If I want to, if it's acceptable, I want to participate. I want to answer questions. I want to, whatever it is that you want, I will be there. And if not, okay, but I'm also...
To be perfectly honest with you, Jay, there's a lot of different personalities in here. And
I'm also wanting to
some people's mind, you're not the most popular. So I think, and I'm just saying this, I'm being straightforward like I always am. I'm just saying maybe it would be better off.
I understand. And I won't, I'm not going to fight you about that.
No.
But I also wanted the board to understand that I will take my responsible position wherever, whenever, however it may be. I'm not going to run from anything like that. We have disagreements, some of which we understand, some of which we may not. And, but I am...
Well, like I say, I'm not pot shooting, Jay, because I go right to him right off the bat. He knows. He knows I didn't like it when he did it. He knows why I didn't like it. And then it popped up again last year about the receipts and this, that, and the other thing, which is initiated by you. And I explained to you at length over the phone, and you had no idea. Remember? You had no idea that, oh, this is like that. And I said, well, maybe it would behoove to find these things out before. Okay? And it's gone on. It's gone on. I mean, they make movies about us and stuff. Jesus. Anyway, I will do that, Jeremy, if you want to come by yourself or you'd like to come,
I'd
however.
like to come myself.
All right? And you'll hear it firsthand.
Yeah. Okay. Anytime.
But please convey that there's a willingness to try and get this back on track.
I will. I'll take it back, yeah. But I just, again, I thought this was the best way to come about it.
No.
Yeah.
So, so everybody hears the same story.
But, I hope in the future, if we can get back on track here, not to let it fester so long. If there's something that needs to be aired, let's air immediately.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay?
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
See ya.
Anyone else?
Nobody can spell my name.
Where's Randy? Where's Randy?
Oh, she's not feeling well.
Oh,
We have nobody else for publicly heard, so we can go
I
on
was
to the
gonna
next.
say, I mean,
Yeah.
Thanks for asking. but-
give it my best, I was feeling better. Okay, so, Ken, do you wanted to talk about the new capacity zone, the REDs? and CCA?
Yeah, there's been a lot going on with Central Hudson and new capacity zones and the smart meters and something they call the REV, which is redoing the entire energy system. And there's been, meetings going on. I thought maybe I would just take this opportunity to kind of bring everyone up to date with some of the things which you might be interested in, which might affect Woodstock. You may or may not know, but Central Hudson applied for a rate increase last July, about $40 million on what's called the delivery charge of your electric bill. Your electric bill is split into two parts, the supply charge and the delivery charge. Bill wrote a pretty good summary of what the amounts are back in February 25th, and I would refer you to Bill's article if you really want to know what they are, but it's a couple percentages a year for the next couple of years. This rate only applies to delivery charge, and they gave some examples of why they're asking for this increase. For instance, it's a $40 million increase. 40% of it's just due to increases in property taxes, which they have to pay. And I certainly hope our assessor is making sure we get our fair share. 20% is attributed just to energy efficiency and solar and the lack of growth. If you look at the grid, the cost of maintaining the grid increases every year, maybe by a couple of percent. But if the electrical use isn't increasing, then that total amount of maintenance gets spread among the remaining customers. And as for an example, with our solar system, we'll probably generate about $60,000 worth of gross credits. About half of that, $30,000, is really for delivery charge. Well, next year, we're not going to be paying Central Hudson $30,000 to maintain the grid. And so that expense gets distributed among the remaining customers. The rest of it has to do with improvements and improving the resiliency of some of their facilities. There has been some movement on smart meters, and maybe we had something to do with this. Central Hudson does now allow opt-out for the ERT meters. So you can, if your ERT meter is causing you electromagnetic sensitivity, you can remove it, have it removed, and they'll put in the digital meter.
That's good news.
Yeah,
When did that come about?
Well, actually, I don't know. I saw it in the.
About 6 months ago.
Uh-huh.
I saw it in the announcement for the session that was in Kingston, and I asked John when it happened that this is new. He said, "Oh no, we've had that for a while." And I went to the website, and there it was. Also, as part of the filing for the rate increase, they will offer opt-out for what are really smart meters, which they don't install yet, but they're getting ready for when that might happen under the REV. They also have in this part of, not necessarily this filing, but a recent one, the community solar, where you have an apartment building, but you can't, the residents can't put a solar on the roof, but there is a way now to have a solar panel which they'll share, or a community where some of the houses are shaded and some of them aren't. You'll now be able to have a community solar, and that's under a pilot program now, and it should be available pretty soon.
You might want to skip the next one.
What? No winter?
No power outages.
Well, we had
Winter's not a-
we had a flicker, yeah, but for the most part.
Up till now.
We've had, I don't know, our power didn't go out, it flickered a bit, but for the most part, we weren't in the dark for any length of period this year, so some of what they've been doing is actually working.
The tree trimming along the road is not.
Yeah, but very aggressive on tree trimming. They've also been putting in higher poles, so the wires are higher above the trees when they come down. But they just attribute it to cold weather, which kept the trees from falling on the lines, It's more luck than anything. The new capacity zone. Last year about this time, we passed a resolution against, expressing the town board's opinion against the new capacity zone. What the new capacity zone is that the NISO, which controls the major bulk of the electricity, identified in New York and lower Hudson Valley that there would be an energy shortage by 2019, and that more capacity was needed. The preferred approach was to build transmission lines down through Dutchess County, which would bring hydroelectric and nuclear and even wind power, mostly all clean energy, down to the New York City and lower Hudson Valley area. That didn't go too well because the people in Dutchess County organized quite effectively against it and pretty much stopped the transmission lines. And as a result, the NISO and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission established what's called a new capacity zone and required Central Hudson and the local utilities to buy all their power from that zone. And as a result, at least for the town board, for the commercial, it was expected that energy costs would go up by 10%. I think for residential it's going to be 6 or 8%. And that was just to attract people to build power plants in the area. Actually, and then in December, Chris Gibson and Chuck Schumer and the other politicians announced that they had included in an appropriation bill that the FERC had to report every quarter on how well the new capacity zones were working. Well, like a day later, NISO sends out this email press release saying, it's working just great, everything is fine, the power has come online, we are extremely happy with the way this new capacity zone has worked out. And some of the things that happened was that Danskammer, which is a power plant, was the worst polluting coal-fired power plant on the East Coast. And, Clearwater and Sierra Club, and Riverkeeper been trying to shut it down for years. Well, Superstorm Sandy came along and flooded it and quenched the fires. And the owners at that point said, well, we'll just scrap it. And then the new capacity zone came along and said, hey, we get an asset here. And so that's been converted to natural gas. And it's come back online. I think it comes back online maybe in the end of next year, or I don't know when. But it's instead of losing 500 megawatts of power, we now have an additional 500 megawatts. Same thing happened down at a place called Bowline, which is down in Haverstraw. They had a 557 megawatt gas turbine, which they were going to scrap. And now that's come back online. What's been approved is the TDI Champlain Hudson power line. It's a DC power line, which is going to be run under Lake Champlain and under the Hudson River down to New York City. And that brings in it's a DC line, brings in 1,000 megawatts. So what ISO said is that there's no problem in 2019 anymore. It's gone away. We had a 1,700 megawatt deficiency. We can now identify 1,900 megawatts of additional power that's going to come online. And so the 2019 problem has disappeared. And that's also as a result, instead of a 10% energy increase, it's only going to be more like 5%. for commercial and maybe, and lower than for the residential. So given the reduction in the power, we're going from 10% increase to 5% increase, so it's not really a reduction, but the added delivery costs, we may, pretty much have stable prices for the next couple of years. Let's see, what else we have here? Oh, there's one other, there's 3 or 4 other power plants which, because of this increased pricing, have now, instead of being shut down, are now being brought back online. So the good news is we avoided some power shortages in 2019, but we're going to be using natural gas to do that. Instead of having the transmission lines bringing in hydroelectric and nuclear and wind power, which was the sources in upstate New York, we'll now be burning natural gas in the Hudson Valley to supplement that power.
Do you know, Ken, the line under the Hudson, what is the source of that energy?
That'll be the hydroelectric systems up in Canada.
So we will get some hydro.
Well, that goes down to New York City.
Right, but I mean, it's coming into the zone.
It's coming into the zone, right. It's coming into the zone. Yeah, so I mean, it'll make a difference. But all the peaking power and the half of the additional powers is natural gas fired. Of course, the good news is that it makes solar energy easier to justify as the prices going up. The other thing that's been going on is this thing called REV, Reforming the Energy Vision. No reason to really explain what this is because it means what the PSC and the government and all these groups are trying to do is figure out how to integrate solar and distributed power into what's essentially a centralized network. And they've had some rulings on this just recently. Some of the things that we've talked about, which have now are in the process, are like community choice aggregation. This is where communities can get together and buy power and essentially provide power for their residents. We have things like MEGA, which are county governments that banded together, and there's another one which we talked about briefly, which was from the Association of Towns for Local Governments. Well, now a county and a local government could band together and buy bulk power for all the residents. And this has been supported recently by a local group called the Citizens for or Committee for Local Power. But a pilot has been set up in Westchester. Just recently was announced, Sustainable Westchester, and people are talking about it for Ulster County. I don't know how far along it is, but certainly it's a very active proposal at this point to propose a community choice aggregation for Ulster County. The other thing that's happening...
I'm curious about that. So what does that mean? I mean, like, so for instance, does that mean a community can get together and, say, put up either a windmill or a solar farm and draw their energy from it? What?
No, it's not necessarily that. I mean, they could, but the pilots are really communities getting together and buying power in bulk. Mm-hmm. It'd be like MEGA.
From different sources.
No, from different, like we have all these ESCOs, and none of that's really worked out very well as far as individuals doing it. But groups getting together, like MEGA, and what was that other one from the Association of Towns we briefly talked about? They buy power in bulk for municipalities, mm-hmm. for local governments.
That was the woman that came to talk to us. She had done something.
Yeah, I can't remember. But it's really just a purchasing mm-hmm. option. You go out to these other power sources, negotiate a better deal. But the other part of it is that it becomes an opt-out environment where all the town residents are in, unless they specifically decide they want to stay with Central Hudson. Mm-hmm. And we'll see how that works out with Westchester. It's been done in California and Massachusetts, and we've gone to a couple of meetings where these people come in and talk to us. The other thing that's happening is what's called microgrids, and there's a couple of proposals, I don't want to say proposals, but a couple of opportunities which have been identified for microgrids. And microgrids are really, again, it's sort of a community or a campus that all gets together and shares their solar energy and their generators when the power goes out, so they sort of become a little island of power when the central system goes out. There's going to be a meeting on LED municipal street lighting, April 2nd, and that just came through. I'll give, I won't be here for that, but I'll give Jeremy the,
Where's that gonna be?
they'll be at the county office building.
Uh-huh.
Give you at least the initial announcement. And they're gonna bring people in to talk. You know, we've had several communities, including ourselves, that looked at using LED lights in our streetlights. And we ran into some problems with Central Hudson. So this is sort of a meeting, so we're gonna share their experiences and maybe get some answers on doing that. What just came in when I looked at the agenda at about 5 o'clock was that under our solar arrangement, we were applying for incentives under what NYSERDA calls the greater than 200 kilowatt program. And that has been postponed because of some rulings by the PSC having to do with how remote net metering charges are calculated. And so that whole program's been postponed until the PSC makes a ruling.
That's kind of a good thing, if you don't mind my interrupting you, because,
I think I'm done, actually.
oh, are you? Oh, okay.
Perfect time.
Well, let me interrupt. Because one of the next steps that we take to move this project forward, of course, is negotiating the power purchase agreement, which you all saw. There was a copy of it in the original proposal from the company given to us last September. I've been batting back and forth with the company on certain terms in that, which I felt could be more advantageous to the town, or less ambiguous anyway. I've been guided in this process through an NREL publication, you know, what PPAs for dummies, basically. I've now got it to a point where I'm going to take it to our town attorney and have him put his jaundiced eye across the document. But anyway, as soon as that's done, then I'll distribute it among us, and we can all have our own conversations about it and see if we're satisfied with it. But this gives us this delay, and gives us a little more breathing room to address that. Ken, that was a great report. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, there's meetings going on all the time. I'll be continuing to go to them and say,
Ken, could you, I don't know if you've done it already, can you provide copies of that for all of us?
copies of what I just reported. Yeah.
Thank you, that'd be very good.
It's sort of just.
Jeremy, I've been, a year and a half ago, I went down to 2 meetings down there. One of the things I told you about was the city of Yonkers was getting rid of all of their street lighting and replacing them with LEDs, saving something over $1 million a year of expense. And there were other factors where the communities were cooperating and not under the governor's guidance.
Questions?
Yeah, I'd like to know, first of all, the LED municipal lighting meeting at the county office building, April 2nd. Do you have a time and a room number?
It's at the legislative chambers. I think it's at 4 o'clock.
4 to 6.
And it's open to the public.
Yeah, in the chambers. 6
Thank you
to
very much.
Yes, Joe.
Getting back to smart meters for a moment, it's my understanding that the opt-out option is still going to have a monthly fee attached to your bill.
Yeah.
But you can opt out, but you're going to be paying whatever it is, 5 or 10
I have it right here.
dollars per month, whereas other states have negotiated with their utilities to have a free opt-out, and I think that's what
Well, I think, you know,
the ultimate goal should be in New York as well.
If you have a smart meter, it costs you here it is. If you already have one of these ART meters installed, it'll cost you $49 to have it taken out. If you don't have it installed already, then there's of course no charge. The service fee will be $6 a month to have the non-ERT meter.
In addition to the $35 you pay.
Yeah, I mean, it's an additional $6 per month. But if you're having, you know, medical problems with electromagnetic exposure and things like that, it's, you know, it's probably a way to find out if the meter is causing the problem.
Yes.
Ken, you said that you had just looked at LED used for Woodstock's town lighting, but there was a problem with Central Hudson. What were the problems with Central Hudson?
I'll refer to the supervisor for that explanation.
Well, if you look at an electric bill, we get 3 electric bills for our streetlights, because we have 2 lighting districts, and then the general fund has 36 poles, it has lights on it. And the bills are unlike all our other electric bills, because our other electric bills look very much like the electric bill that you get for your home electric. But the way that they charge for the streetlights in the town of Woodstock anyway, is you pay a substantial, most of the money is paid for just for the pole, not the electricity, the pole. I want to say, it's been a while since I looked at all these numbers, but I want to say about 80% of the electric bill is just for the poles and not the electricity. It really uses so little electricity that I don't even think they meter it. I think they just estimate it, because the usage remains constant all through the year. And what I mean by that is it's slightly more in the winter because there's more darkness, and less in the summer because there's more light. But if you look at the kilowatts used for this month and this month 10 years ago, it would be identical. So they don't have them separately metered. So the bulk of the cost is just for the pole. When we first looked into the idea of the town taking over its lighting districts, we were told that if we paid, I believe it was an $8 per pole survey charge, and another small cost, I can't remember. But it would reduce the cost of the monthly bill so much so that even though we would spend about $80,000 converting our streetlights into LEDs, it would still pay for itself over a period of 5 years. And then, so we said, oh, well, this is wonderful, and we engaged an engineer, and the engineer did his studies, and he did the thing, and he built up the skill. And then Central Hudson said, oh, by the way, because this is when Fortis came into the picture, and Central Hudson is now Central Hudson Fortis, and Fortis says, well, no, that's not the deal that we're going to make. And I can't remember exactly the terms that it was replaced with, but it was not economically advantageous anymore. Although they did say that they would replace the streetlights with LEDs.
We should push them on that, because the street lights that we have are very unreliable.
Well, I still want to see if there's going to be any change at the PSC that will allow us to just take over the lighting.
There was something in the paper a week and a half ago about Central Hudson starting to do that very thing in Ringwood.
Mhm.
Put the LED lights up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
on their own, they're doing it.
right,
You know.
yeah.
But I guess they still want to make that exorbitant rent,
Yes.
month after month after
Right,
month.
yeah, right.
Why don't we
And
just send,
maybe that's what we'll end up.
why don't we just send fire to these people?
Now you're talking.
Thank you.
There's a headline. So as long as we're talking, making announcements, I want to talk about the Tannery Brook Bridge. As some of you may have noticed, the south sidewalk on the Tannery Brook Bridge on Route 12 has been closed off for some time. And it's because a great big hole is sitting in the middle of it. And you can now look at the stream through a whole different perspective if you wish. So I called the DOT in Kingston, and they forwarded the issue right down to the Poughkeepsie office. And Poughkeepsie sent up their inspectors and engineers and looked at the situation, and I got this call yesterday. And they said, this is what they said to me, who walked on that sidewalk for 60 years, who remembers climbing over, it was a different fence then, but climbing over the fence that used to protect the pedestrian from falling into the stream, and hanging onto the side of the curb and putting our toes on the 24-inch I-beam. That's how we would cross the stream. They tell me that that sidewalk is not theirs.
It's not.
It's not theirs.
They tell me that they built that bridge and they have no idea where that sidewalk came from. Okay. So I said, oh, well, that's very interesting. So, as the town clerk knows, first I went back to 1929, 1930, when that bridge was built, to see if there was anything said about that. Nothing. And then I went to 1949, when the water district was being constructed, to see if that had anything to do with it. No, there's absolutely no mention in it. In 1976, there is a mention. And I want to say this is a real nostalgic trip, these old meetings, my God. But in 1976, what was then New York Telephone Company came to the town and said that we want to run our telecommunications underground from Nair Street to Maple Lane. So of course that's going right under the Tannery Brook Bridge. In fact, when you go under the Tannery Brook Bridge and look up, you can see under the sidewalk portion of the bridge numerous conduits carrying, I guess, these telecommunications. There was nothing in the town board minutes to indicate that they were seeking the town's permission to go under its sidewalk, if we're to believe the VOT. So anyway, there's a little dispute going on as to who owns that sidewalk. I imagine it's not going to be settled too quickly. I have engaged some state officials to advocate on our behalf, and I'll report more as we go along. But in the meantime, we can't just leave that thing the way it is. So what is being proposed for the nonce is to just create a wooden plank walkway over the, and let's face it, it's a very crummy blacktop sidewalk anyway. But that's perhaps what our next step will be, to so that we can continue using that as a sidewalk. All these other things are being looked at.
So actually, let's just confer with Jay for a minute. Jay, what we're proposing is that we would lay down on either side a piece of 5/4 by 6 pressure treated, and then a 2 by 6 or a 2 by 8 pressure treated over that, which would be 5 foot wide, and would screw it on each side. And that would kind of span the humps and dips and whatnot. There should, there may be some flexing on it. We didn't want to add a third strip in there because
It humps in the middle.
in the middle. But one of the issues Jeremy brought up, and it's a potential, is that, we may get some warping there where we would have a trip hazard. What could we do? Some kind of biscuit or a screw that we could do. So think on that.
Yes, yes, right.
And you've got the job.
And that'll be clearly much better than having 2 more crosswalks painted on the road.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Well,
Yes.
yeah, well, sure, we can consult on that.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
We had talked about doing some steel first, but I think the wood will
Yeah, I think so.
look nicer and hold it better.
Yeah.
Yes, Joe.
So, did the state say the bridge itself is sound? It's just the hole in the
The
sidewalk?
bridge itself is sound. I mean, listen, it's, the state of New York is responsible for inspecting their bridges. That bridge is almost 80 years old.
That's
It was recently inspected. When I was under there, I mean, the 24-inch I-beam seemed to be, intact. I will say that some of the corrugated metal, they bent over them to support the pavement on top. You're going to have to replace that bridge at some point.
Who said today that bridge was possibly slated to be replaced within 2 years?
That bridge has been slated to be replaced for the last 20 years.
When they fix it, we won't let them on our sidewalk, though.
Yeah, right. Right. Yes. Keep that sidewalk just the way it is. Right.
That's part of our dilemma, though, is any more permanent fix would be totally undone by a new bridge. Should they actually be?
Listen, I'll tell you something. It would be great news if they were going to replace that bridge.
Right.
It would be terrible news if they were going to replace that bridge. Think of the hell when that bridge is replaced. Think about it. Think of the hell when they replace that bridge.
Sorry.
Well, listen, as long as we're giving the courts, let me share something. It's not on the agenda, but something that I've been working at. Because, well, let me step back. In 2010, I believe it was, the 2000 becoming effective, when was Cuomo first elected? 2010. And he enacted the so-called tax cap legislation. And it came into effect in 2011. And in fact, that was the year that the town board had to adopt special legislation because it was adopting a budget that exceeded the tax cap. So that was our first acquaintance with the tax cap. When, in 2011, we had an election here, and I chose to participate, and this tax cap, legislation was very much in the air. I do remember saying throughout that entire campaign that, because I'm not a supporter of this tax cap stuff. To me, it's the death of infrastructure, but that's another issue. But I did say that, because the town was still, quite sort of annoyed that, that there was a significant tax increase that there had been that year, and having to break the cap and everything else. And I said, if I had a choice between keeping under the cap and not meeting the needs of my constituents, I'm going to break the cap. I'm just telling you, I will break the cap. I just feel that your needs are more important than the political exigencies of the city of Albany. And that's my feeling about it then, and it's my feeling about it now. Now, in practice, the three budgets that we presented since that time have all fallen under the cap. However, there was another little tidbit in that legislation, which said that by June of 2015, the town must show an efficiency plan. And the efficiency plan must show actions taken on and after 2012, actions taken by the town board that would result in a 1% savings off the 2014 levy. Now, the 2014 levy was about $5.5 million. That was for the general, and the highway, and the sewer districts, and the water district, and the lighting districts. It came to about $5.5 million. So we have to come up with an efficiency plan that shows that we've taken measures since 2012 to save $55,000. If we fail to do this, let's talk about this first. If we fail to do this, everybody in this room who is a primary homeowner living in the school districts may remember that check that came, I'm sure by pure coincidence, just days before the election, from the state of New York for the $12 or $26 or the $22 because the Ontario school system adopted a budget that remained under the cap. And so this was the state of New York rewarding the school district and giving you $22 or whatever it was because the school district were behaving. So if the town behaves, you can expect it would be a smaller check. If you got 22, this will be 8, something like that. So if the town stays under the cap and presents an efficiency plan, you will get a check sometime just before the election for $8 or whatever from the state of New York. That's if we play and do all this correctly. If we don't submit this efficiency plan, well, all bets are off and you ain't getting $1 million. So, I just wanted to say that I've been working, I was aware of this from the day that I took office, and I can tell you that this town board, unanimously, all working together, have taken the steps, and we will be able to present an efficiency plan that will show a savings of at least $55,000, and in fact more, off the 2014 levy. And I just want to say this in honor and respect of the workers of this town. Most of these savings comes from a labor agreement that was negotiated in 2012. Councilman Wank and I were the team, on the negotiating team on this endeavor. where the employees of the town gave back on several terms. One was there was an increase in their contributions to healthcare. Another was a significant decrease in their longevity increases, pay. And another was in medical buyouts, to name but three. And I think there was a fourth one, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. I'll do my Rick Perry, oops. Anyway, the significant amount of these savings came from the employees of the town, who at that time recognized the financial straits and the financial constraints that the town was under, and who, in good faith, negotiated with the town to help it over these hurdles. So it is primarily because of that that this is so, and that you are going to get your check for $8 just before the election in the state of New York. But I just say that really a deep appreciation for the employees of this town. One of the greatest pleasures of this job is working with this organization. It really has tremendous people working for it. And this is just, I think, one example of just there being full participants in town affairs and town concerns and stuff like that. That's it. Anyone else want to flag? Should we do some business?
Yes, and not two announcements.
Oh, two announcements. Oh, announcements. Oh,
Next Saturday, the 28th, is termed, again, it's happened, we've had that before last year, Celebrate Earth Hour. And people are encouraged to turn their lights off for 1 hour at home. Not during the day, I would suggest during the night. To reflect that they are involved and interested and very much in favor of saving this environment that we all share. And so just 1 hour on the 28th. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that yesterday is a very unhappy anniversary. And I believe that, well, for myself, I would rather know about things than not. Knowing about pleasant or unpleasant business makes my life more meaningful. Yesterday was the anniversary of the Mile massacre, where close to 600 women and children were shot, burned to death, raped, slaughtered. It happened in '68. And I want to mention the name of Hugh Thompson in relation to this. He was the helicopter pilot who happened to be flying by. Oh, let me back up a minute. Before our troops were sent into Mile, they were advised by their superior officers that everybody in this village was a dangerous VC. And this man, this hero, Hugh Thompson, was flying his chopper by. He saw what was going on. He landed his helicopter between Lieutenant Cowley and his troops and the victims of this massacre, and he ended it. It could have been much worse. But again, this is the kind of thing that makes my life more important. Not necessarily happy, but more important to know and remember these sorts of things that were done in our name. And those are my two announcements.
We don't have minutes, right? Is Jackie going to do minutes? Right, that's what I thought. Okay. We're not going to do minutes, people. So, be it resolved to accept the town clerk's report.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved to authorize transfers per the transfer sheet.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved to authorize payment of audited vouchers in the amount of $335,426.83.
Second.
Do I hear 84? All in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved to authorize the supervisor to sign change work orders 13, 14, 15, and 16 with one-way construction new total for contract 2B, $969,220.76. All in favor?
Aye.
Be resolved to authorize Alan Pichero, building inspector, to attend the following conferences which will assist you with the enforcement of the wetland and water course and floodplain management provisions of the Woodstock Code. Rutgers University Office of Continuing Education, May 12 and 13. Rutgers University Office of Continuing Education, May 26, 27, 28, and 29. New York State Floodplain and Stormwater Managers Association, Syracuse, New York, April 27, 28, and 29. And be it further resolved, the town shall pay the cost of lodging and meals pursuant to the terms of the resolution adopted at the 2015 organizational meeting. In favor?
Aye.
Whereas the town supervisor and some plot holders of the Woodstock Community Garden have proposed rules governing the use of the Woodstock Community Garden located east of the end of the field. And whereas these rules have been reviewed by members of the town board, therefore be it resolved to adopt the rules and, pursuant to the rules, appoint Raymond Foy, Haley Galligan, and Allison Koffler Wise to serve at the pleasure of the town board as members of the Woodstock Community Garden Committee, and to invite the gardeners who had plots in 2014 to return for the 2015 season, and to advertise in the official newspaper the availability of several vacant plots to interested gardeners, and to establish the Woodstock Community Garden Trust and Agency account for the purpose of collecting fees and making disbursements on behalf of the community garden.
Second.
Okay.
Aye.
Jay, you want to offer this one? Since you want to offer the next resolution, since you are the
Sure.
prime mover?
Did you get that? From the garden again?
Yeah, it's all in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas it has come to the attention of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the New York State Legislature that there are contests and competitions around New York State with prizes awarded for the killing of the greatest number of wildlife. And whereas both the New York State Senate and Assembly bills S2634 and A3855 respectively provide that it shall be unlawful for any person to organize, conduct, promote, or participate in any contest or competition where the objective of such contest or competition is to take the greatest number of wildlife. And whereas the Woodstock Town Board finds such legislation in the interests of the town, therefore be it resolved, the Woodstock Town Board support the legislation, and be it further resolved, a copy of this resolution be sent to Assemblyman Kevin Cahill, Senator George Amador, Assembly Speaker Carl Hasty, and Senate Majority Leader Dean Scalos.
Second. All in favor?
Any discussion?
It's, to me, it's a no-brainer. Anyone else? All in favor?
Aye.
Whereas Michael Denson has served as volunteer fire chief for the Woodstock.
Some of them are easy.
We have squirrels in the house?
Yes.
We did.
Whereas, whereas Michael Denson has served as volunteer fire chief. How did you walk this one?
No,
you have to.
go right ahead.
Yeah?
Yes.
We just want to get out of here. Whereas
Well, then
Michael,
I will go on first.
whereas Michael Denson has served as volunteer fire chief of the Woodstock Fire District for 27 years. And whereas in that period he has served the people of Woodstock with his deep dedication to the role of the Woodstock Fire District in preserving life and property. And whereas Michael Denson retired from the position of volunteer fire chief effective January 1, 2015. And whereas to date there has been no formal occasion to celebrate Mr. Denson's long and effective tenure. And whereas the Woodstock Town Board wishes very much on behalf of the Woodstock residents to show its appreciation and gratitude for Mr. Denson's years of volunteer service to the Woodstock community, and whereas a nice dinner in a nice restaurant may go at least part way in such show of appreciation and gratitude. Therefore be it resolved, the Town Board take Mike Denson and his wife Ellen to dinner, where our sincere thanks and a certified copy of this resolution shall be conveyed.
Second.
All in favor?
Question,
Yeah?
question.
Yes?
This looks as though all of us are going to dinner with Mike and Ellen.
Yeah, if you want.
It's a town board.
Well, it doesn't sound awful, but whereas the town board take Mike Denson and his wife, as opposed
But I can tell you,
to send Mike Denson and his wife out.
say that again?
As opposed to town board send Mike Denson and his wife
Oh,
out.
no, I think there's at least a couple members of the town board that want to be there at the table.
And I know Kathy
Pick up
does,
the tab
Kathy does too.
and
I'm down.
say some nice things.
It's really not legal for the town board to buy it. I mean, to appropriate town money.
No, we're not doing
Yeah.
it.
Right,
No.
but I mean, for us to take them out on our own.
Yes.
Yeah, right out of
Out of our own pocket, that's fine.
Right.
Seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah. 27, you know what, I'm not 100% sure, but I think 27 years is a record in New York State for chief.
No, really?
Yeah.
Wow,
For my third.
wow.
27 years at anything is pretty impressive.
But if you knew Michael back in the day, you never would have suspected. Be it
I'm
resolved.
not going to touch that.
Be it resolved to, listen, you knew me back in the day. Be it resolved to appoint Joseph Stock, part-time police officer for the town of Woodstock at a rate of $23.12 per hour effective March 18, 2015.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. And one abstention. 3 ayes and 1 abstention. That, kids, is all our business. All right? Let's go. Over here, in the office.
Are we moving to the
Everybody in the room.
I got a lifesaver. We okay, everybody? Move to adjourn? Okay. Watch the roads, everybody. Be very careful on the roads.
Yeah.